I'm Andy Pilgrim with Automobile. Welcome to another edition of Pro Racers Take. Today at the NCM Motorsports Park, we have a pretty special vehicle, one of only 500 McLaren Sennas. You know, I'm going straight to the track with this one.
This is going to be fun. The acceleration is just brutal. I mean, thank goodness for the 6-point seatbelt system, I'll be honest. 180 miles an hour. Look at the braking. 2.04 G's under deceleration. Incredible. Let's go to the Hotlap. We've been battling miserable weather for the couple of days we've had the Senna, and you can see it's just about to start again, but we had to get a Hotlap in here. We're running on used tires, and I asked the engineers in the UK why the car had so much understeer, and they confirmed that the alignment and everything is set for the street, and they said, sorry, we can't send in engineers right now, have fun with the car and just do your best. Okay, heavy braking for one, flip it in there. Car is super, and unfortunately, as I said, I'm battling understeer the whole way around here, every corner, whether it's mid-speed, high speed's actually worse. It's so much fun though, so much fun, this car. It sounds great. Pulling pretty good speed through here. 109 min speed is excellent. Now, I missed the brake point there a little bit. It just got into sort of an ABS mode, but it lost a couple of tenths. That's about it there. I'll blame myself for that one. A little bit of slip and slide through 8 as usual. That's a very difficult technical corner. Over the top here. 120 miles an hour down into turn 10 is exceptionally quick. I think 1 mile an hour quicker than the GT2 RS there. Yeah, rain puddle there, nicely straddled that one. Flying up onto tabletop. Actually, I bumped it into 6th gear as it went across there. It's pretty hard sprung, this car. And also as I went onto tabletop, I could actually feel air under the front. I've never really felt that in a car before. Flying down, check this out. 103 down into 18, that's crazy fast. And now we're in the patience area, something the Senna has very little of, but it is just like driving a prototype or a GT3 car. It's just so much fun, but of course it doesn't have the grip, mechanical grip, because it's not on racing tires. Although the Pirelli Trofeo Rs do a stellar job, they are still a street tire. Now onto the straightaway, and you know, you can see the panel on the side of you that makes it look a bit like you're in a Formula 1 car, which I think is what McLaren wanted to do. 2 minutes 2.86. That is a new Pro Racers Take lap record. There is certainly more time in the Senna with new tires on the car, a track setup instead of a street setup. Unfortunately, the rain came down, which stopped us doing the 0 to 60 and quarter mile. All right, let's head back to the garage.
You could look at the Senna as the most extreme example of form following function. Some people look at this car and go, what is that? There's so many bits hanging off. It's all about aerodynamics. It's all about creating downforce at the same time getting through the air and not creating too much drag. That's what you're looking at. I think the design looks absolutely brilliant. But make no mistake, everything on this car has a reason for being there. Let's look at the front of the car, for instance, all right? This center tunnel, huge, goes through the radiator, obviously part of cooling, redirected up, coming out here, and that creates a ton of downforce. And next to this central tunnel, you have this area, both sides. There are 2 louvers in here. When they open up, creates less drag, and when they close down, it helps braking. And on the very edges, you've got 2 fixed louvers, and they redirect air down the side of the car, which breaks up some of the turbulence that comes out from the wheel well, again, helping create less drag. Some high-performance vehicles have wheel well vents on top. McLaren doesn't go with that. It actually has what you could almost call an exhaust for the pressure that they need to release from the wheel well, and it's in the back. So we'll move down the side of the car a little bit. Now McLaren, from all their years in F1, are masters of air manipulation, and the Senna is just the highlight of that. The air that comes from the front wheel well, either side of the wheel, comes down the side of the car. The air that's up here goes into the radiators, and then down here it pulls around the door through this hole and into the diffuser area, again creating a tremendous amount of downforce. So this is where the air that goes down the side of the car ends up. The air that was at the bottom underneath the door ends up coming through the diffuser, creating downforce, as I mentioned. The air that went through that huge hole on the side, that intake, looked like a jet engine intake, half the air goes on top, comes across these vents. These vents create like a venturi that suck hot air out of the engine, and underneath, that air comes through past the engine itself and again sucks hot air out the engine compartment. But again, it all creates downforce as well as cooling. So I already mentioned the active aero pieces on the front, and it should be said, McLaren were pioneers from their F1 days with active aero management. Well, the wing at the back is just an incredible piece of aero engineering. When you're on the brakes, this thing flips up, and when you're probably on a fast kink, it's going to come halfway up to help manage the air and create a little bit of downforce. And then on the straightaway, flat out, it's going to be all the way down. Combine that with the general shape of the car to do with downforce, the total capable downforce for this car at 155 miles an hour is 1,763.7 pounds of downforce. Incredible. As with many mid-engine cars these days, you don't actually get to touch and feel the engine. You look at it through a window. To me, this looks like the flux capacitor for those Back to the Future fans. Underneath here, you have a 4-litre V8 twin-turbo engine, kicks out 789 horsepower and 590 pounds-feet of torque. It is a screamer. The brakes on the Senna are something quite special. Let's have a look. The rotors, front and rear, 15.4 inches. The calipers on the front, 6-piston calipers developed by Brembo, and the calipers on the back are 4-piston. What makes them a bit special? 1.3-inch thick rotors. The manufacturing process for these rotors takes 7 times longer than a normal carbon ceramic rotor. Up to 7 months apparently for each one of these rotors. They are incredible. With the capability to stop the Senna in just 328 feet from 124 miles an hour. A driver is going to feel about 2.1 Gs of deceleration during that. That's the same as you would find in a GT3 race car. The Senna rolls on Pirelli P0 Trofeo Rs, a very sticky production tire indeed. 245/35 19s in the front and 315/30 20s in the rear. I initially spoke about form following function when it comes to the design of the Senna. There's no doubt the design of the vehicle has produced a stunning looking vehicle with tremendous downforce, which is functionality. Something else I want to talk about is the carbon fiber on the car. Performance cars have carbon fiber on it for 2 main reasons. It is weight savings and strength. So if we take this wing for instance, it weighs 10.7 pounds and it has the capability to support 100 times its own weight in downforce. That's the equivalent of being able to support a fully dressed touring motorcycle on this wing. But that's just one example of the weight savings. The car, if you go front to back, has a tremendous number of areas where McLaren have worked so hard to save weight. And the end result, the Senna has a curb weight of 2,886 pounds. That is tremendously low for a production car these days. Yet another interesting part of the Senna, the dihedral doors. Let's have a look. So pull them up, electric locks there. And an interesting part for me, the Gorilla Glass, optional Gorilla Glass here. So when you're going along, you can actually see the road. And initially it's weird. It's almost like the door fell off or there's a huge hole in the car, but it does attract your attention for a little bit till you get used to it. But an interesting piece on the door there. So let's have a look at the interior. For those of you that have seen Pro Racers takes before, I frequently talk about minimalist interiors. The Senna probably has the most minimalist interior of any car we've tested. I would get this as an option anytime if it wasn't $1 million car, right? But it's superb. Steering wheel, fantastic. Lightweight, carbon fiber, nothing on it at all. horn, paddles. The seats, ultra lightweight, carbon fiber, very comfortable, very much like a racing seat. Alcantara or leather pad pieces in the seats, superb, about 30% lighter than an equivalent carbon fiber seat from other manufacturers. And on the driver usability side, again, minimalist. We have this folding dash display, which is actually brilliant. Coming up on top, a bit like an aircraft, you've got the engine start here. We have the race button here, which ends up lowering the suspension for track work. Windows here, doors here. And then you come to the infotainment system, which is basic. It has the stuff most people like, from the radio to the air conditioning, driver compartment stuff is there. And then you've got the gearbox controls here, like comfort to track, and also stability control, and then the general gearbox drive, neutral, reverse switches, and launch control. And to be quite honest, that's about it. It's perfect. There's something a bit special about this particular McLaren Senna. Not that there isn't something special about all the McLaren Sennas, but this particular one was spec'd out by the staff, the US staff of Automobile Magazine, plus a contributor in the UK, Jethro Bovington. A couple of the options stood out to me. The amethyst black paint looks great. Black in most lights, but in other lights you can clearly see the purple. And the carbon fiber on the car is extensive. It looks beautiful. I can't imagine how much it cost. The final finishing touch, which was great, Automobile is embroidered on the seat headrests. And a quick shout out to McLaren. This car arrived at the port from England, then it came straight to the NCM Motorsports racetrack. It is a media car. It is going to all over the country to regular media to drive it on the street. First stop, NCM Motorsports Park. They allowed me to take the car on track, no engineers, no spare tires, no spare wheels, no nothing. Go ahead, have some fun. They must be very happy that the car is still in one piece. So before we go to the corner shots that we took with the Senna, I wanted to talk about the exhaust noise, because it's like an F1 car. It sounds brilliant. Now, as you can tell, this particular Senna has the drive-through window option for those Senna owners that like to go to fast food restaurants, which is very, very nice option. I'm kidding. This is the window. This is all you get, yeah? All right, let's listen to this exhaust note. F1, F1 all the way. I know there are many people watching who well remember Ayrton Senna. I know I will never forget May the 1st, 1994. This car that McLaren made bears Ayrton Senna's name, and it is an incredible tribute to the man. There is no doubt McLaren have produced the most incredible track and street focused vehicle in the Senna. I can tell you, driving it on the street is a fantastic experience on so many levels, but then if you want to take it to the racetrack, nothing short of a prototype race car is really going to give you much of a problem. I certainly can't think of a better four-wheel tribute to one of the greatest race car drivers who ever lived than the McLaren Senna.